The 503rd Infantry was one of the original parachute infantry units created as a result of successful efforts by the U.S. Army Airborne Test Platoon at Fort Benning, Georgia in 1940. It was the third of 4 parachute battalions formed prior to the beginning of the World War II. From a company-sized unit originally activated on August 22, 1941, the 503rd was expanded into a full-size regiment on the 24th of February, 1942. The 2nd Battalion, 503rd, was formed from the 504th PIR in March 1942. The 2nd Airborne Battle Group, 503rd Infantry, was relieved on the 24th of June 1960 from assignment to the 82nd Airborne Division and assigned to the 25th Infantry Division, my grandfather being one of these soldiers.
I've always been a patriotic person, and so I felt that because we live in a free country, that everybody should support the war effort if we're involved in it. We should back up just a little bit. I was part of the first group of soldiers to go to Vietnam as advisors, and in fact, the military to this day doesn't recognize it that we were there. So we were there before the war started and acted as advisors. Weren't really sure what was going to happen. The first time we flew over with live ammunition and parachutes and turned around and came back. The second time we sat out in the harbor for 2.5 weeks and then turned around and came back. So we weren't really sure what was going to happen, and most of us are pretty excited that we didn't have to take part in the war. I felt that the problem with the Vietnam War was that we didn't fight it to the best of our ability. We only fought it halfway, and that's why there was so much loss. I was just sad that we just didn't do it the right way, and that was felt the same by a lot of people. No, if I have one regret, it's I didn't stay in because I really liked the military. I really liked it, but I was offended by some of our leaders who didn't seem that they tried to speak English. They just, it was stupid, but I was offended by that because they didn't try to talk to us. They tried to talk down to us. And I think that's why I got out of the service. But I would have stayed in had I had good leadership. I loved it. Actually, I was. I used to go down and pick up all the new troops and greet them at the station and bring them to the new company and do things like that. So even as a corporal, or an E4, what they call you, I was in charge of 30 or 40 men a week.
How did you feel when you saw all these new men coming in? Were you excited that they were enlisting in also?
Oh yeah, I thought it was great. Well, again, remember, we weren't told, we weren't really told what the eventual mission would be. We were just there to sort of be teachers, if you will, guide the forces, and it was really all kind of confusing, as I said, because today they don't even recognize the fact that we were there. They won't admit that they sent us there in 1961, which was like 5 years before the war started.
Yeah.
remember now. It was years after I got out, but I was disillusioned a little bit that we had not done what we were capable of doing. We didn't have to have the war be extended as long as it did. We could have ended it sooner, and we could have taken better care of our troops, period. On Okinawa, they were, getting ready to to deploy to Vietnam. We had a lot of fun, but did a lot of drinking. But it wasn't the most fun. The most fun was getting discharged. I got to come home in September of '61.